We have a story about how the Southern Cross come to be there. So it comes from Kunangalbar, which is Dunk Island. It's part of our land, and the sand spit that faces west. It's a taboo place. We're not allowed to go fishing there. And way back a long time ago, there was this two boys who were walking down to the sand spit, dragging their canoe, and the old man spotted them. And he came over and he said, "So, where you going?" And they said, "Oh, we're going down here, go fishing out off the sand spit." And he said, "No, you're not allowed to go over there. That's a taboo place. You're not allowed to fish there. It's one of our safe places. It's like a green zone." So when we looked at it, that's how we treat those places. So those fish are safe there. So the two boys said, no, we don't believe the story. We're going to go fishing there." And he said, "Well, if you go over there, you may not come back. In fact, you won't come back." So it was about this time in the evening, after they put their canoes in, and they went out and they dropped the stone anchor over, and they're watching. Weather was good. Sun was going down. The Milky Way started to appear on the right-hand side. So then all of a sudden, one of the boys got a bite on the line, and he could feel the nibble, tug, and then slowly got tighter. The line got tighter, so he sunk the pearl hook into that fish. And that fish took off in that direction there, straight over towards where the Milky Way comes down and meets the Earth. And it started to drag him, and dragged the canoe all the way down from Kunangalbar, all the way down to Manamadunami, which is Hinchinbrook Island. And when it dragged that canoe, the weather started to get dark, and the old man lost sight of him. And then all of a sudden in the sky, he could see the Southern Cross appearing. The two pointer stars that point east are the two boys in the canoe. The cross that's there is the big fish that took them down there. And that fish is what we call dewey, which is a shovel-nosed shark. You may find that story inside the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park authorities under marine rays and sharks, I think it is there. So that story tells us how that constellation come to be there. So then, when we look at the sky, we can navigate of an evening which way is east. And when I go in the bush and we camp with the kids, we always like to face our tent the right way. You ever watch your dog when he goes out in the yard and he wants to lie down? He doesn't just flop over. He goes round and round and round, and he's looking for the right space. What he's doing is orientating himself with the earth. We do that when we set up our tents and stuff, and when we want to camp. And that's what it's all about, learning to orientate and know where that sun comes up, which is over there, and where it goes down over here. So if it's a hot night, we face our tent so that the breeze will come through our tent. If it's wintertime, we turn sideways, but we still sleep in the direction that we want to sleep in. It's like being a dog, I suppose, and knowing exactly where things are. So the next story I'll tell you is about the seven sisters. And when they're in the sky, they're just about there. So how I know all this stuff is because I spend a lot of time out in the bush. And it's really good to orientate yourself with the bush, you know. So when I look around and I look at where the Milky Way is, where Dewey is, where the two pointers are, the two naughty boys in the canoe, then I follow it across the sky and I know where Magullingun is. Magullingun is about the Seven Sisters. This story is part of a story that goes all the way to the centre of Australia. We have what we call song lines and storylines that captivate these stories and allow us to interact with other tribal groups. Even though we never had no machinery to get there, we interact. And when we go on walkabout, the walkabouts are real. Some of our people went miles and miles and miles away. And they had to travel there, and they had to have a message stick. Message stick is about as long as my finger, I suppose. I'm not giving you the finger here. The message stick is about that long. And on there, there's all holes drilled in it and little cuts and grooves, and they have meaning. And that's the only way we communicate, by doing stuff on bits of wood. So anyway, the story about the Seven Sisters is about a law that wasn't meant to be broken. The Seven Sisters, they were all steps and stairs, from grown-ups right down to little people. Anyway, this old man came in amongst the girls, and he said to them, "I'm going to marry your baby sister." And way back a long time ago, this is a men's world. This was a male world. And no woman was allowed to say no. But the girl said, "You're not marrying our little sister. You're an evil old man." And with that, they run away. And he said, "Well, I'm going to catch up with you, and we're going to punish you, because that's the law. You broke a law here." So they took off, and they run this way. And they run towards where the Milky Way hits the earth. And they just kept going and going, and then it got dark. They run up on a hill, like Kootaringa here, or Gunnaburra, the dingo. Run up on it, and jumped on the Milky Way and run right across here. And that's why they're etched in the sky, just about there now. And the old man followed them, but he was too slow. He chased them, jumped up on top, got disorientated in amongst all the stars. And that's when he got lost, and he walked out here. And he went out here to where the evening star is. And that's why today, when we look up there, we see that star. We call that star Yabulga, which is named after that old man now, that evil old man. And that's the first star you see in the evening. One of the good things about that star is when somebody in our family dies, all of our children cry for them. It might be the mum, or it might have been the dad that passed away. If they want to see that grandfather or mother or grandmother, then we tell them. The first star that comes up in the evening, if you sit down in your backyard and look up, that's your mother or your grandmother, whoever it is that passed away and they're missing. We tell them to look up there and see that star and remember their family, that family member, especially that family member. It's to make sure that the little kids understand that nothing is lost forever. One day we go to find them. And when we pass away, we will see them again. So our dream time, our dreaming place here for us, we're saltwater people from Hinchinbrook Island. Our dreaming place is out there on the Great Barrier Reef. So when we pass away, that's where our spirit goes. That's the place we call Julin. The Barrier Reef is Julin. It's the old country where we used to live. So one time ago, the ocean shores were not just here. They were way out there lapping against the what do they call it? The big drop-off. at the Barrier Reef. And that's the place where we used to live. It used to be rainforest. All the river systems run out. Mal Mal is Burdekin. Galbadira is Ross River. Warringa is Herbert River. And they all run out across that plains there. And there's 42 miles to get to that Great Barrier Reef. And then they dropped off the big a continental shelf, is that word? So it dropped off there, and there was waterfalls everywhere. And then one day, the ocean started to rise, as it is happening right now. Way back then, it wasn't influenced by people, but I think the rising of the waters right now is influenced by us. And when this started to happen, they started to prepare to come back this way. So we're talking about 20,000 years ago, when the ice cap melted. And then we had to move back. And we had to come this way. And slowly we had to come back to where the shore is now.
Please put your hands together for our storyteller. New chapters are written every day.
Thank you.
Please put your hands together for our storyteller. New chapters are written every day.